process for both member and public comments. The primary members will be using their cameras and we will take live public comments. Members are asked to turn on their cameras when they have a comment or question, and then I will then recognize you and you can unmute your microphone. For everyone else, please raise your hand and you will be unmuted so you can speak. With that, Darlene, can you provide a quick overview on how the public comments will work for us?
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to. So as was noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, in addition to the emailed comments, any of those that were received by 4 p.m. yesterday, the public can also provide live comments during the meeting today. In order to do that, you click on the raised hand icon and you do that when the public items are called for on an item. The raised hand icon is found on the Zoom toolbar for those of you who are joining by computer. And I do know we have at least one person that's participating by phone, and you'll use *9 to be able to comment. Then the chair will call on you by name. And then for the person that's on the phone, the last 3 digits of your phone number will be used, so you can be called on that way. And instructions for providing live comments are also at the bottom of the cover page of the meeting agenda. And you can access those from the homepage of SANDAG's website at www.sandag.org and click on the meeting notice right there. It should be on the first cover page. All the comments, whether they're emailed or live, will be made part of the record of today's meeting. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Sounds good. Thank you, Darlene, for that. So the first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes, and that is for the July 15th meeting. Sorry about that. Do we have any comments on those? And if you do, as a reminder, please raise your hand. I don't think we see any. Darlene, do you?
Let me keep looking here. Sorry, I've got too many windows open. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I don't see
monitoring. Any. Perfect. Okay, so seeing that there is no raised hands or comments, can I please have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. This is Megan Thomas at SDG.
Thank you, Megan. And do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
Actually, I think it has to be one of the voting members to move. Sorry, Megan, even though I appreciate your input so much. We need somebody from one of the voting members to make the motion, please.
Thank you, Darlene.
I'll make the motion to move.
Thank you, Lynn. Do we have a second from one of our voting members?
Second.
And that is Denise?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll call on the city clerk for a roll call vote, please. Linda?
South County Chair Angelica Davis.
Aye.
North County Coastal Cecilia Paradarian. Cecilia, can you raise your hand, please?
Sorry about that. Aye.
Okay. North County Inland, Sylvia Solis Daniels. And Sylvia raised her hand. East County, Lyd Dedman.
Yes, aye.
City of San Diego, Tiffany Harrison is absent. County of San Diego, Denise Becerra.
Aye.
That item passes with those members present.
Beautiful, thank you. Then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is public comments and member comments. I'll ask members of the comments who wish to offer public comment not related to a matter on today's agenda to please raise your hand or *9, as Darlene said, for phone participants, so we can call on you. Do we have any comments from either group?
Yes, I have Joanne Fields has her hand raised.
And I just want to confirm, and this is not on any item on the agenda, right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Joanne?
Hello, good morning, everyone. I know we're down to the wire. I put in the chat, I don't know if someone's monitoring that, but because I'm on Zoom on my phone, I can't open another window for the agenda. So I'm hoping someone can post it there. But I also want to share with you that we have Census Caravans planned. On Friday, we have a Census Caravan on starting at El Toyon Park in National City. And the route will be shared again, 5:30 at El Toyon Park. And then again on Monday, the 24th, we will have a Census Caravan, Sereno Valley through Mare Mesa. These are areas that have been identified as part of the lower 23 hard to count census tracts. I'll have a meeting today with the leadership handling the census in the city of Imperial Beach, where I hope to have a from South County to North County caravan. So Angelica, I'd like to meet with you via Zoom or a meeting so that we make sure that we stop on the west side of Chula Vista, again, to raise the visibility of this last push before the census ends on September 30th. But I do want to ask if there are any other municipalities that may have some leftover funds so that we can try to get this caravan funded. Again, in the cities that may not have been touched or had a census caravan. So I know there's one planned in Chula Vista, and I just met the new director there. But that is a question I hope to receive from Sandag. Is there any additional funds that you all may have received for this last quarter? And again, Joanne Fields, representing Asian Pacific Islander Initiative and Paving Great Futures. I'm the census coordinator for both organizations.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Joanne, and I will certainly be reaching out to you. Darlene, did you want to respond to the question regarding funding availability?
Yeah, I don't know of any right now, but if I hear of any, I will let you know.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments from the members or from the public? I see a hand up from Blanca Romero. Is that correct? I think I did.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Blanca Romero with NALEO Educational Fund, the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials. I just wanted to make a public communication to everyone. NALEO Educational Fund is engaging in a final opportunity to continue the census outreach and education, specifically targeting families and young people, K through 12. So we are engaging local educational leaders, schools as well to take this final opportunity going back to school to encourage participants to complete their census questionnaire. And this, we will be holding a statewide webinar on August 27th from 3 to 4 p.m. Where we will have various partners and we will also present a toolkit geared specifically for educational leaders as well. And we, of course, amplify this message as well nationally. So please join us and support us. And we also are looking for other school principals, teachers, and other educational leaders to partake in this webinar, but also to encourage participation in the census. Thank you.
Thank you, Blanca. I don't see any other hands raised. Darlene, if you can confirm, I think I'm correct.
Correct, I don't either.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, thank you, Blanca and Joanne, for your continuing efforts. And I think that concludes public comments. So moving on to item number 3, we have a director's report provided by Cindy Berg from Sandag. Thank you
Hi,
for
good
being here,
morning,
Cindy.
everybody.
Good morning.
First, I wanted to express our appreciation for everybody who's in this meeting and has worked so hard to get our response rate ups for the region. Right now, we've exceeded the 2010 countywide self-response rate, which was 68%. As of yesterday, we were at 70.3% of the residents of the San Diego region have responded, so great work. Some reminders too that I was asked to share. We're in the home stretch. There's just a month and a half remaining in the 2020 census data collection period and 2 more meetings of this working group. Please continue to read the weekly e-blast from Sandag to get updates. And there are also a few deliverables that are remaining. The monthly spreadsheet is due at the end of August and September to Darlene. In addition, a final report outlining your efforts is due at the end of September, which will be compiled into an overall summary and presented at the October meeting, as well as to the Sandag board and submitted to the state. The template was provided in July, and please reach out to Darlene with any questions. The completion of those 3 deliverables will conclude the 2020 census outreach, and we'll be celebrating that at our October meeting, and we are looking forward to it. That's it.
Thank you for that report, Cindy. And yeah, and I second that. I'm really appreciative of everybody's hard work, and I'm so excited that we already passed the 2010 numbers. So thank you for that. Do we have any comments on the director's report?
No public comments on this item. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4, we have update from the Census Bureau provided by Roberto Garcia. Good morning, Roberto. Thank you for being here.
Hi, good morning, Chair Angelica Davis. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I have a very brief report, and you know, I'll take any questions that you have. But essentially, I'm excited that, you know, we are reporting that we have passed the 2010 participation rate. But remember, that is only 70%, and we are not yet at 100%. So we do need to continue moving this forward. It is our intention to get as close to 100 as we can. And while, yes, 70% is a great success from 2010, we have still a long way to go. I also want to indicate that my team is now able to be on the field. So initially we had postponed the MQA operation. Now we are gearing up and we are reactivating that operation. So currently we're very focused on doing, for example, food distributions. We had been working with a few schools. We're working with Feeding San Diego, the San Diego Food Bank, as well as other organizations. I was in an MQA site this Monday in Borrego Springs. And while it was really hot, I believe that it was a very successful event. We saw roughly about 100 people, and we were able to take 28 census submissions right then and there, mostly Spanish-speaking individuals. So I want to, here definitely provide that service to all of you, to all the cities, as well as anyone in the public, all of the nonprofits that have been helping us. So we do have the staff, we do have the technology to make it happen. So please let us know if there are any events that are coming up where we can be on the field. And with that said, I know that this group has another meeting or 2 more scheduled meetings. Our final day with the census will be September 26th. So that will be the last day that my team will be working. So please count on us until then. The last thing I want to talk about are just some time changes or some operational changes. The first thing that I want to address is that the non-response follow-up has already begun. Essentially, this means that the census takers are out on the street. And given that we were placed in a situation where we had to adjust, we did start 1 week early. So we started the week of August 7th. That's when the first round of enumerators started to go out. We have been communicating with all the police departments as well as the cities to make sure that they understand that we have census takers out on the street in case anyone raises any questions or concerns. The next thing that I wanted to mention is that this operation, the non-response follow-up, where the census takers are going door by door for those non-responding households, while we do have a goal of finalizing the census on August 26th, this operation in San Diego is scheduled to end September 18th. So by September 18th, we hope that all of our workload will be complete and there will not be any more enumerators out on the street. So the only other option for people that have yet to respond will be to do it online, and also the local San Diego phone lines that we have already shared with all of you. The last and most important, I think, update along this operational timeline is that we are also currently gearing up for the homeless count for San Diego County. This is scheduled for September 24th and the 25th. So we are working currently with our census offices here locally to make sure that we have the staff and we also understand what the hotspots are so that during those 2 days, we are counting everyone that's living in the streets essentially. And lastly, I guess the last thing I would say is that, just going back to the participation rate, there are still a few cities that have yet to pass their 2010 participation rate. And I'll just name them out, not calling you out or anything, but basically just indicating that most likely we will be focusing on these cities, making sure that we're raising the participation rate. So these cities are those that are under 70%, and that is the city of El Cajon, city of Lemon Grove, Solana Beach, National City, Imperial Beach, and we may or we may not also get to Coronado and Del Mar. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. I'll take any questions at this time if you have any.
Thank you for that report, Roberto. Do we have any comments from the members of the public or from our board?
Chair, there's no public comments at this time for this item.
I'm sorry?
There's no public comments for this item?
Okay.
I see Joanne's hand raised.
Yes, I'm sorry, Joanne Fields.
Thanks again, Joanne Fields, API Initiative, Paving Great Futures. Is there a list of the actual numbers available for each city? Where they're at as far as status on from 2010 and where they're at today? Roberto?
Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
Yes, there is an informational map that you can reference at any time. It's very easy to get to. You can Google how to count maps or how to count census maps, and you'll be able to locate that map. And essentially, we'll give you the participation rate for 2010, and then currently where we are right now. You can look at cities specifically, and you can also look at individual tracts.
Oh, no, thank you for that. I do know about the hard to count map, but because of the cities that you listed, I was hoping that you might have like a data sheet that I can bring back to the organizations that I'm working with to see if we can create a strategy around those areas to have another big final push. Without having to do all that research. I'm just trying to save time.
Yes, no, I understand. I believe Darlan usually shares it. I hope that she has it on her slides this time around. And if not, I'm happy to provide that information. So I'm also seeing here another question from Sylvia. What does MQA stand for? That's the Mobile Questionnaire Assistance. So essentially, we, meaning the U.S. Census Bureau, have trained staff that can take the census for any individual. We're the only ones that are authorized by law to do that. So at any point, we can be at any event. I know that the city, or I know that for North County, we roughly have about 14 individuals. El Cajon area, I think we have another 14. And then for the South Bay, we have another 14 individuals that are trained and that are ready to do this work. And I think Joanne also, she's been collaborating with us. We did an event at the Jacob Center. I know that was a food distribution, and they were asking people if they have taken the census, and if not, then they were able to take it right then and there. And again, it takes roughly about 3 to 5 minutes. I was even doing some on Monday myself in Borrego Springs. So we're happy to be there. And again, make sure that we continue to increase our participation rate in our county.
Thank you, Roberto.
And just to answer or to follow up on what Roberto says, I do have a comparison of every city, the response rate, and comparing it to 2010, which I will share today. And we put a link to that in the e-blast. Every time we send an e-blast out, we update it.
Perfect. Thank you, Darlene and Roberto. And Joanne, I think you had a follow-up question on homelessness.
Yes. The audio came in and out when you were talking about the homeless. All I heard was homeless. I did get contacted by one of the lead coordinators at the convention center where they want to ensure they're counted. And I thought that already may have taken place as far as group quarters, or if it's a special phase within the, the census enumeration. So is there a way that we can get staff to go there to count the homeless that are there? And yeah, is there that possibility?
I will double check, Joanne, to see if we have already enumerated the individuals that are at the convention center. And if it has not happened, we will most definitely be there.
So I also want to say thank you for the staff that are providing the MQA support. We had very successful time with them over the weekend in National City in front of Seafood City, who is a partner along with Filipino Press and the API Initiative and Samahan Health Centers. So with the staff there, they averaged about 15 to 20 each staff were successful in obtaining their information in just the short 3.5 hours that they were there, actually 4 hours. So if there is an opportunity to increase the numbers, because we can't take everybody at one time because they're wrapped up with another person. I do appreciate that we have information or QR codes that we're also promoting. And I know the census staff can't promote that, but with the Count Me 2020 swag that we have, that serves very productive as well. So I just wanted to share, again, thank you for providing the MQAs in our communities that haven't responded at the level that we'd like, but it's a very effective program.
And I think that's all the comments and questions. I did want to follow up.
Chair,
Yes.
I do see Sylvia Solis Daniels has her hand raised.
Okay.
Sylvia Solis Daniels.
I believe Roberto might have answered her question. Let's double check.
Took it down.
Still...
She took her hand down.
Okay. As a follow-up, Roberto, I just wanted to offer my assistance. I do a lot of work with the homeless outreach team in Chula Vista and National City. I know there's a lot of restrictions accessing the convention center. So if you need help coordinating with the organizations that are managing those, such as Alpha and VVSD and so forth, let me know and I would be happy to put you in contact with the right people, because there is a lot of restrictions entering the convention center.
Great. Thank you, Angelica. We will most definitely follow up.
Absolutely. I do see one more hand from Andrew Amorao. Andrew, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I just want to just add to what Roberto had said regarding our updates on our operations. I want to also let folks know that there's going to be an additional mailer that's going to be sent out. That's going to be going to non-responding households. It's also going to have an additional paper questionnaire that's going to be coming along with it. And I had actually engaged with a couple of census takers too, and had spoken to them about what their experiences are like. The main challenge for them, just so for folks can know and put this on their radar, is that people are not answering their doors. And so they know that someone is there, but they're not answering their doors. And so I'll provide a link to the committee in regards to how to identify census takers if you haven't received that information already, because that's really the biggest hurdle for them to get it. And so what they're doing is then going next door or going to another place and doing the proxy, right? And then trying to see if they can get information that way. And so they were saying even if people are just talking through their door or talking through their window, that's even more effective than not answering their door at all. That's it.
Yeah, thanks
Okay.
for that. Thanks for that, Andrew. We, in the e-blast we're going to send out this week after the meeting, we're going to include a link to that, how to identify a census taker, and encourage everyone to really amplify that message. Please answer your door for census takers. And I have gotten an email from a member of the public just today concerned that somebody knocked on their door and did not have a badge. So getting the message out about how to identify the legitimate census takers is definitely important.
Thank you for that, Darlene. Sylvia, I still see your hand up, or maybe you raised it again. I just want to confirm that your question was answered. I think we're good. Okay.
Actually, she did put some more detail in the chat. It says, okay, since we have limited events happening to host, like our kiosks, are census staff able to go to mobile and maybe mobile homes and visit community sites such as parks, or maybe to go mobile, I guess, visit community sites such as parks or laundromats, etc. Hopefully I'm not speaking for her, but what do you have for that?
So the answer is yes. When census tracts are below a certain threshold, we are going to those places where people gather. Like Joanne mentioned too, we've been being stationed at grocery stores. That tends to be very successful. And we have looked at other places such as laundromats and pharmacies and some other essential businesses where people are going during this pandemic time. So the answer is yes. And if you do have specific areas that you want us to visit or that you want us to be at, just please let us know. Send us an address and we'll make it work. The other thing I wanted to mention, sorry, I did forget something. So along the lines of what my colleague Andrew Amaral mentioned, the U.S. Census Bureau also sent out an email reminder to areas where the participation rate is not high. So the U.S. Census Bureau did send out also an email to households that are placed or located in low response areas. This doesn't mean that they had not participated. It was just another friendly reminder from our end. And the last thing I would say too is that locally in San Diego too, we have phone lines that at any time anyone can call. They tend to be a little bit faster than the national line. I believe we've already shared those with you, but if you do need them, please let us know. We've been getting roughly about 10 phone calls a day. So at any time, please share that resource with anyone that we might need. And since Michelle is here too. Maybe she can give an update. I know that we had shared that information with 211 to see if they can refer people to our line to make sure that they are being enumerated in that way also.
Yes, and Roberto, if you could send those numbers over to me, again, I can put them in the e-blast. And Joanne has asked, what are the local numbers again? So maybe if you could rattle them off now, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. I'll send them over.
Yeah, getting them right is better than trying to guess. Thank you.
And that's it on my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. Thank you for answering all of those questions. I don't see any more comments or questions unless you see something else in the chat box, Darlene. I think we're ready to move on to the next item.
The only thing I saw in the chat box is that in addition to the follow-up that's already been mentioned by the Census Bureau, enumerators will be making phone calls to do their follow-up to non-responding households. So if an enumerator calls, that can be legitimate too. So I'll put that in the blast as well.
Okay.
Chair,
Perfect.
also Michelle Silverthorne has her hand raised.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Michelle. Good morning.
Hi, just real quick, actually Darlene just said what I was gonna say about that the enumerators are making follow-up calls. There's only one phone number that will actually come from that's a legit phone number, and it's an 844 number, and I just wanted to make sure that people knew that as well, that if people do get a call and it has to be only from this number, that's a legit a legit phone call from the Census Bureau. So I'll make sure that Darlene has that number to include there as well. And in regards to the comment from Roberto, I have not heard back from 211 as far as them transferring phone or local people who call 211 to the local San Diego number. Last I had conversation with them, they were in the middle of their big conference. So I'm still hopeful that that will happen, but I'm noticing that they haven't updated their webpage either. So I will follow up on that further.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. And we love your screen, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, and just monitoring the comments. Okay, thank you. And on that note, I think we could move on to item number 5, California Complete Count 2020 Census Office Update provided by Connie Hernandez. Good morning, Connie.
And Connie, I just promoted you, so you should be able to turn on your camera and your mic.
Okay, I have my mic on. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
All righty, we can get started now. Are you going to, you have the PowerPoint, correct, Darlene? Oh, there you go. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. And I would just like to echo the comments made earlier that journey together for almost 2 years now, and we're near the final stage. Congratulations on the great numbers that we have so far in terms of surpassing the 2010 numbers, but I also agree with Roberto that we're not at 100%, so whatever we can get beyond this number is great. And since we have, every time I turn around, it seems that the schedules change and the time gets shorter, especially hearing about the enumerators not being out after September 16th. So we really have a lot to do, but congratulations on all the work so far. We can go on to the next slide, please. We're going to go over very quickly some San Diego County data review. I won't go over a lot of it. We can go to the next page in a lot of specifics because I know Darlene has her report, but I would like to highlight, as you know, based on the hard to count index of over 69 and the housing units in those areas, San Diego County has 23 that are in 23 census tracts of the hardest to count. So as we get ready for the non-response follow-up, some of us have already begun that campaign. We have expanded the watch list to these very specific census tracts. So the CTs are part of the criteria for the non-response follow-up funding that was received recently, that has been accepted and managed by our local ACBO that manages the Count Me 2020 coalition. So there are 23 in San Diego and 5 in Imperial Valley. The lowest performing 5 tracts are highlighted in yellow on this page and on the next. And this data is from 8/6, but I did a little research last night and I found that they are increasing all of the SRRs that you see on the last column here, but the increase has been very minimal for the San Diego census tracts. It's been maybe 0.2% was the biggest increase, I think. And I have them listed on per area, per census tract. And then if any of you are interested in opening up the fact sheets, you're more than welcome to do so. But they're primarily in cities that were already mentioned in terms of low response rates, such as, or under 70%, such as Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, National City, Oceanside, major parts of Southeast San Diego as well. So if we could go on to the next slide, this is the second half where you can see where those are. First column here that's highlighted, Southeast San Diego near 25th and Imperial. And there's one that's a little unusual in respect to the other ones that are listed. And this is by San Diego State University. It's called the Alvarado Estate. It's a little enclave of a gated community. It's been very difficult to, it's also the surrounding areas of San Diego State University, which was impacted because of the porters count in terms of not being able to do that because of the university area there. So there has been an uptick in that. I think it's up to 33%, but we keep moving and working in that area. Real quick in terms of the next page, please, in Imperial County, where we have 5 census tracts. And this isn't specific to our meeting today as this reviews San Diego County, but I thought I'd just include this slide so that you can see what our sister county is doing at this time. Very happy to report that they also have surpassed their 2010, which was 58.9%, and it's already up to 59.1. And I would like to give credit to—
Can you show the next slide, please?
Yes, the next slide. Census Bureau, the United States Census Bureau, and organizations such as that Joanne Fields works with, that has done outreach in Imperial County as well. And I think that that's a credit to the numbers that they have seen, along with the hard work in those specific community-based organizations that have worked there. So congratulations to them. And interestingly enough, in these hardest to count 5 areas in Imperial County, their uptick has been up to 2.0%. So I'm not sure if it's the heat out there. I don't know what it is, but they're just, you know, moving along and continuously do good work to push up their numbers. Go on to the next slide, please. I heard Joanne Fields mention earlier about funding, the last tranche of funding, and it really is applied to the county, rather the ACBO contract and the county of Imperial. And that amount of funding is listed here. And the guidelines for that, this is specifically targeted to the 23 hardest to count census tracts in San Diego County and the 5 hardest to count census tracts in Imperial. And they are specific to those tracts, also towards supporting language access, also for supporting health and safety measures, phone banking, text campaigns, and direct mail. Also, some funding targeted to the localized media communications and all of it's paid digital, geofencing, over the top, food trucks, mom and pop stores, ethnic stores, and everyone that's very specific. Go on to the next slide, please. This is just our response to the news about the operations ending on September 30th. This cuts the non-response follow-up and self-response period by 31 days, and the impact of this decision is having a complete count will be astronomical and detrimental to the hard-to-count communities. We have had very many challenges, unprecedented challenges during this campaign. And this is just the latest of that challenge. However, I have confidence, especially as I see these numbers, that regardless of the situation, we continue to pivot. We continue to be more and more creative to make sure we reach those hardest to count communities. Next slide, please. I want to just go over, this is really, we're trying to project what may happen and how the California Complete Count Committee would respond to this, but I really feel that concerning the announcement, ramping up for non-response follow-up, and also the U.S. Census Bureau ramp down, as I heard from Roberto, that, you know, this is now cut to 9/16. I think Roberto covered most of this, and the important message here is that we assess things as they happen. I sent this PowerPoint in probably about 10 days ago, and things have changed since then. So we try to keep up with all the changes that occur. I just want to reiterate our commitment to continue, and our offices will be closing the end of this month, which isn't terribly significant since we have all been working from home since, well, I have personally since March, but I will be working throughout the month of November and will be available for any support or questions you may have. We can go on to the next slide, please. There's new resources on our California Complete Count Committee site, especially in our portal, which the link is right there, and there's several new creative assets that are available. There's a suite of creative assets to motivate people to take that final step and complete the census. So now we don't say, you know, you have till September 30th. We say do it now. We have a QR code that was set up by the Count Me 2020 Coalition that directs you directly, that directs you to a space where you can fill that out. So it's really not till the 30th of September, but now. That's the main thing. We also have a PPP order form for primary partners, and I think that we'll have that till the end of the week if other things are needed. We also always want to indicate our statewide partner webpage that really outlines all the great work that is being conducted throughout the state and how we here in San Diego County to connect to some of those partners. We could go on to the next slide, please. Non-response follow-up start date officially was August the 11th. Complete Count Committee week of action, it's tentative first week of September. I believe it's going to start actually September 9th and go through that week. Have to remember Hispanic Heritage Month for event planning purposes. And well, see, this is even outdated if the enumerations are going to end on the 16th rather than the 30th. The other key dates are that the final report is due to the California State Office by November 16th. So please get your information to Darlene, as she will need the time to compile all the information she receives so that she will be able to report to us on a timely basis. And just another reminder to report everything you do, put it into SWORD. I had to make a presentation yesterday on the importance of reporting, because if it's not reported, it didn't happen. And it is our hope in this unprecedented, challenging campaign that we leave behind a story of our journey to help uplift all our communities and really indicate how important they are, just to continue to receive the resources that we need so that our communities will flourish. We could go on to the next slide, please. We have a partner learning opportunities that are listed here. The peer learning session, we have these almost every Friday, and usually it's from 1:30 to 2:30. Just contact me for the Zoom link. Last Friday we had California Calls. That was a great session. And this coming Friday, we are going to have the Latinx presentation as well. And again, it gives you some insight into what other partners are doing and how they can help uplift the work that we do. Along on Fridays, we also have every Friday from 3 to 4 information about SWORD. The SWORD team is available to take questions that you may have on site. You can submit them early if you'd like. And it's great to have that one-to-one conversation with these folks that are able to guide us through the SWORD process. We can go on to the next slide, please. These are just examples of some of the creative assets in the partner portal. There's so many new pieces that really drive home the urgency and importance of completing the census now, as I indicated earlier. We encourage you to download these and share widely on your social media pages. I show an English version and Spanish version, but there are other languages available as well. We can go on to the next slide. See, I have a page missing here on my information. Well, this is the PPE equipment that is being provided to all Complete Count Committee partners, and this equipment includes a KN95 mask, disposable procedural masks, face shields, hand sanitizers, latex gloves. So I'll have to check back to see what is the final drop dead deadline for these, as they have changed it recently, but hopefully some of these items will still be available. If any of you are interested, please give me a call or contact me. My number and my email address is listed there. Next slide, please. Census Week of Action. These are all past activities that we went through. So it was a great week of action in terms of the earned media production and how it all coordinated so well, primarily to uplift partner activity and help promote the U.S. Census Bureau designated week as well. So I would rather move forward now, as we are having our day of action this Friday, and there's a lot of information there that I'm sure Michelle will be sharing with us. We can go on to the next slide, please. Images of the week of action. These are additional great local collaterals that they're always great to see, because we see our community in action. And as I said, we've overcome so many different obstacles and challenges, and we continue to find creative ways just to continue the good work that has to happen. So the metrics and results of our collective actions during these 2 weeks of action are represented here. You can go on to the next slide, please. Again, the non-response follow-up campaign key messages are: respond to the census today, complete it online by phone or by mail, 9 easy questions, no citizenship questions, the issue of the security, and that this is indeed confidential information. We can go on to the next slide. I'm sure that many of you have use all of this information, but it's nice to have it in one place in terms of there's only 9 simple confidential questions, billions of funding for our community programs, a step toward equity and justice, a manner to help secure funding for our neighborhoods, no citizenship question, everyone counts, and that your information is secure. We could go on to the next slide, please. census office consideration points, and those are primarily that the non-response outreach activities will need to conclude by September 30th. Several partners have already returned or are in the process of returning the appropriate documentation to receive the additional funding. In fact, all of that has been processed since this was set up, and both the ACBO in this county and the County of Imperial have received their funding. We're in the final phases of onboarding a phone banking vendor to assist with limited and targeted outreach to low response areas. And our statewide paid media placements through Mercury are currently scheduled to conclude on August 31st. Our office is considering a last get out the count week mobilizing effort in the first week of September. And that is what I mentioned earlier. It's now going to happen on September 7th. So thank you so much again for all your hard work. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions about any of this information, please feel free to contact me. Okay, Angelica.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you for that presentation. I'm monitoring the comments here. I don't see any raised hands or any comments from the participants. So thank you, Connie, for that presentation again. Moving on. Yep.
Look, Chair, I'm sorry. Roberto Garcia raised his hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Roberto. I did not see that.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to maybe clarify a little bit in terms of the non-response follow-up. So I know Connie indicated that the final date will be September 26th, and that is the official date. However, for San Diego, for our county, our ACOs are intending to finish that non-response follow-up that week of September 16th. So just so that we're clear, the official date is the 26th, but for San Diego County, it will be September 16th.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Roberto.
Oh. That was my understanding. I must have misspoke, but I've got it. Because when you mentioned the 16th, I remembered it was Fiestas Patrias. Won't forget that date.
Okay,
Thank you.
Also, Chair, I have Joanne Fields with her hand raised.
Okay, Joanne.
Hello again. So with the enumerators that will cease the operation, will MQAs and the, if I heard right, the telephone calling, the local numbers will still be active? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So the phone line should be open and available up until then.
Or up until September 16th or up until September 30th?
All of the operations locally in San Diego are scheduled to end September 16th. That includes the non-response follow-up, that includes MQAs, and then the local phone line. However, people can still call the national line and or do the census online.
Okay. So the last two push, we're on our own and just utilizing the online national, but nothing, no local support.
That is correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to the next item, we have an outreach summary, item 6, I apologize, and we will have a report from Darlene.
Yes, thank you. And I think they're bringing up my PowerPoint right now. So I can just get started as they're bringing up the PowerPoint. So thank you for all the hard work that you all are doing. I always say this, it's not just the outreach that you're doing, but you're also reporting what you're doing. So thank you. As Connie said, if we don't have the data, we can't really describe what's happening. Similar to last month, my presentation today is gonna share a summary of the outreach activities that have been reported throughout the San Diego region, as well as the response rates. So that's the activities of the County 2020 Coalition, the jurisdictions, everybody. And then I'm also going to tell you a little bit about the marketing campaign that complements the work that all of you are doing. So next slide, please. So this slide is the first of two, as you might remember. It includes the data that are reported through the end of July this time. And like I said, it's all the data that come in from each jurisdiction that then I upload into the state's tool called SWORD, the Statewide Outreach Rapid Deployment SWORD tool. And it also includes, like I said, the County 20 Coalition data, and then information from the County Office of Ed that has been shared with me as well. So we have this complete picture. The first column is the number of activities reported by type. And then the second one shows estimated impressions. And as we all know, impressions are defined as any time a message is seen or heard. You can tell that everybody is super busy. We have almost 3,000 email communications going out. There are flyer distributions, almost 250 of those. And due to the pandemic, the events have pivoted, obviously, to do things like car parades and street cafes, anything that maintains social distance. Moving on to the next slide, you can see the rest of the activities through the end of July. In total, there were over 5,800 activities and over 3.8 million impressions. Thank goodness those impressions are large. That's appropriate because a message needs to be seen or heard 7 times before it really makes an impact. At least that's what I've learned from our marketing specialists. On to the next slide. Looking at the locations of the activities, this map shows the alignment with where the hard to count communities reside. You're familiar with looking at this map. We've seen it a while. So the darker locations are hardest to count, and the lighter locations are less so. We can zoom in on the next slide and look at the northern portion of the county. And you can see that the activities are concentrated in these hard to count areas. And then finally on the next slide, looking at the southern portion of the county. And of course, a link to all of these materials will be provided to you so you can look at them at your leisure. Moving on to the next slide, we dig into the impressions by the type of hard to count community. And it's important to keep in mind when you look at the data that the reporting is not mandated, and the level of confidence in the estimates varies. So this is all impression regardless of level of confidence, but I just share it so you can get a sense of who's being reached. And moving on to the next slide, looking at impressions by language. Not surprising, Spanish is the most frequent impression that is put out there. Moving on to the next slide, we can look at response rate. Drum roll, please, Joanne, this is what you were asking for. You can see that there are many cities that have surpassed their response rates, and this is data as of the 13th of August. And the countywide, statewide, and nationwide rates are at the bottom for your reference. Pretty exciting, the work that you've done. So looking in more detail on the next slide, there is a map of the response rates. So that's the shading there. The darker purple are the higher response rates, and the tan colors going even darker tan are the lowest responding areas. And we zoom in on the next slide, looking at the northern portion of the county. And then again, on the next slide, the southern portion of the county. And many of you have looked at the links that the California Complete Count 2020 Census Office have created, where you can dig into the response rates in a lot of detail. If you'd help looking at that, let me know. Now I have one more new slide that you haven't seen before. This is looking at response rates in a different way on this slide. The map displays the differences between 2020 and 2010 response rates. So the areas in green are above the 2010 rate. The lightest yellow areas are up to 5% below the 2010 rate. And then the orange areas are 5 to 10% below the rate. And then the red are 10% or more below that rate. Okay, so that's all about response rates. Moving on to the next slide, shifting gears a bit to look at the marketing campaign. There have been extensive marketing efforts underway, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. There were 3 consultants that helped with it. ARC Marketing was through the statewide contract, but focusing on the San Diego region. And then they really looked at micro media. That was their emphasis. Then Scatina Daniels through the Count Me 2020 Coalition handled earned media. And finally, Nuffer Smith Tucker through SANDAG developed community-focused messaging. So Michelle's going to tell you in her presentation, the Count Me 2020 update, about what ARC Marketing and Scatina Daniels have been doing, and I'm going to give you a bit from Nuffer Smith Tucker now. On the next slide, so Nuffer Smith Tucker, they also go by NST. They developed a toolkit with lots of resources. It was designed to be plug and play content to make it super easy for messages to be shared with the hard to count communities that are being targeted. They adapted the toolkit for elected officials, for military and veterans organizations, for community organizations, and then also for colleges and universities, like that area that Connie highlighted near San Diego State. Each toolkit had an introduction letter, a blog post, social media copy with recommended visuals, the Count Me 2020 logos, posters and links to additional 2020 census resources. So everything was there, even town hall and meeting scripts for elected officials. They shared this with 115 elected officials, 17 military and veterans groups, and 110 community organizations. And these are community organizations beyond who is part of the Count Me 2020 Coalition, like Chambers of Commerce, community centers, elk lodges, just other organizations really trying to saturate the community. They also reached out to 20 local colleges and universities to communicate the importance of completing the census, even though people have had to move home during the pandemic or might have moved home during the pandemic. So on the next slide, another thing that NST did was some direct mailing. So before the pandemic, they were going to do a big April 1st event. They were going to do Be Counted events, and obviously that couldn't happen. So they redirected the resources to these direct mail campaigns in specific hard to count neighborhoods. There were 2 waves. They designed the postcards in English, Spanish, and Mandarin, which you can see here, those 3 columns. And they mailed them in the first wave to about 71,000 single and multifamily homes. And the zip codes that were targeted were chosen based on the census tracts with the lowest response rates and the highest hard to count indices. Collectively, the response rate in those zip codes that received the postcards went from 50.9% as of Monday, June 8th, when the postcards were mailed, and it went up to 52.7% as of Sunday, June 14th, after the postcards should have been received. That's a 1.8% bump compared to only 0.4% in the areas that did not receive the postcards. So we feel like that made a potential impact. However, please keep in mind that causality, we don't really know the answer to that. Looking at round 2 on the next slide, the postcard was updated with images from the Count Me 2020 Coalition of their members to make it really more localized. That postcard distribution went out on August 3rd. And we looked at the numbers for this mailing and the impact, and we really didn't see any major difference between the zip codes that got it versus the zip codes that didn't. And, once again, it's hard to know, maybe these areas wouldn't have had the increase that they had if they hadn't gotten it. We don't know. It just, it's not quite as exciting as the first round, but that's the data on that. Moving to the next slide, NST supported the July 6th through 10th week of action. And what they did was they coordinated a takeover of the San Diego Union Tribune, the homepage. And they did that in English and Spanish on the websites. They did targeted programmatic display ads and dedicated e-blasts. The campaign generated 1.3 million impressions and more than 6,800 clicks to the English and Spanish census websites. Their click-through rate was 0.51%, which is above the 0.1% average for the UT. So that's the impact there. Moving on to the next slide, NST also designed flyers in English, Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic, Tagalog, and Vietnamese, and they distributed these flyers through the San Diego Food Bank. Specifically, 14,000 flyers went to the Senior Food Program, 5,500 to the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and 6,600 to the Food for Kids Backpack Program. Next slide. This one summarizes all the touch points, which I guess that is a marketing term. I'm learning as we go here. Some of these numbers I've already shared with you, but this puts all their efforts in one slide. And that concludes my presentation. I turn it back over to you, Chair, for any questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Darlene. And I did love that slide where you compared the 2010 numbers to the current numbers. That was really, really helpful. I'd like to open it up to see if we have any comments from our members or from the public.
I see a panelist has a hand up, but which panelist is it? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing.
Tiffany.
Tiffany. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. With the media coming to an end, are they going to do another round of blasting out information to the college areas? I know a lot of college students have gone back to school this week, so just curious if you've heard of anything.
I have not heard anything, and the contract with NST is now over. However, I will definitely reach out to the partners that have been part of this committee. I can't remember if I saw anybody on the attendee list, but that's a really good point, Tiffany.
Thank you. Let me know how I can be of assistance. Rolando is a neighborhood community close to the college community, so if there is any plans, please let me know. Thank you.
Definitely.
I have Joanne Fields next.
Hi, I do have a question regarding the language reporting. I noticed that Filipino and Tagalog were separated out. Was there another Filipino dialect used, or what's the reasoning of the two separate data points?
That's the way that the spreadsheet was designed by the state. And I don't know, Connie, if you still are on the line, if you can comment on that. So I think it's just like wherever, when people were reporting the data, did they put it under Tagalog or did they put it under Filipino? That's where it would end up. And, you know, there could even be the chance that people put it in both places.
Okay, and that, again, that's on the reporting on our end. I just want that clarification.
Yes.
Okay, and then the reports that we've been submitting to Count Me 2020, that's separate from your report, or is that the same report?
That's included with everything. I combine, so the Count Me 2020 Coalition, they submit their own things to sort. So I don't do that again, but I did combine it with everything that I had so that that's a complete description of what's been going on in the region.
Okay, because yeah, I'm requesting again a list of the two organizations I'm working with to make sure that the reports are complete, because we did notice discrepancies where there was months missing. So yeah, definitely there'll be more numbers higher, because we had months missing, but I know that there was submission. So that's why I want that clarification. But thank you.
Yeah, and reporting it now is fine. It doesn't matter that the months are past. Whenever the data come in, we just compile it all together. So it's all good. I'm glad you're following up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Have Michelle Silverthorne.
Hi, if I could just respond to 2 points to Tiffany. And I'm going to forget what her title is and someone else can jump in. Chris Wagaman from the Assembly has been working with colleges throughout the state. I don't remember which region it is right now. It's Casey Farmer. She developed some messaging for colleges to use for students who live off campus. And there was I could go into further detail, but there's a messaging that is being prepared that we're going to use in San Diego for UCSD, SDSU, Point Loma Nazarene, any of the colleges that we know that need to have additional messaging come to them. So if you want to connect and support any of that, let me know, Tiffany, or if you're in touch with Chris Wagaman. Sorry, I don't know all the political sphere and how connections happen. But she is supporting this information being adapted for San Diego, and we're going to make sure it goes back out to San Diego colleges.
Yes, please connect us. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And then the second point, just to reporting and data and that sort of thing, as Darlene mentioned, reporting can continue to happen, like send in reports. And we do have a link that's being shared out to our partners to make sure that they're double checking that all the reporting that we have so far, we finally have that back end so that you can look at it and double check that everything is accurate and that if anything's been missed. So if there's any other of our partners on that want to check that out, you can do that. And even if you're not a partner, you can report into that portal too.
Thank you, Michelle.
I also saw Cecilia Baradarian had her hand raised, but it's no longer raised. Cecilia, did you have a question?
It might have been answered already.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And moving along, Michelle, we have a presentation on the Count Me 2020 Coalition provided by Michelle.
Thanks all. I'll wait for those slides to come up. And I'll just start talking. Once the slides are up too, there's a lot of data in these slides. So I hope that you just have access to them and can go through things because there is an overview of the media pieces, and that, like I said, there's a lot of data, and I know that when we have these presentations, they were probably each like 15 or 20 minutes long. So I'm not going to go into as much detail, so I will be glossing over them a little bit. But thanks for having me. Good morning to everyone. There's our QR code that we've been talking about. I think it's going really well. So just in case anyone has questions or needs more information, we do have these postcards, and you can pick them up on Fridays when we have the merch pickup, but I'll get into that in a minute too. So we can go to the next slide. And just to let you know, what I'm going to briefly just go over. So communications recap with ARC Marketing and Skatina Daniels. And just a brief overview of the Count Me 2020 Week of Action and how that went. NERFU outreach, and then our Day of Action that is coming up on August 21st. So the next slide begins the presentation from ARC. These are their slides. So I'm just going to go through them. So the next slide is the micromedia plan, just an overview of what happened between, I guess that would have been mid-March, April through just a handful of weeks ago. So the paid and ethnic media, the out-of-home, the bus sides and transit shelters. I just saw one of the buses over the weekend. All of that is still out there. We're really fortunate to be able to have that still up because of COVID, but it is still out there. Also the digital work that they did, so digital ad programming, Ivy Digital, Imperial Valley digital event support, and then the connected TV and streaming radio and other TV and radio that happened in Imperial Valley. On the next slide is just a little overview of what some of that looked like or what looks like still. As I mentioned, the bus shelters are still up And we will continue to have digital media too, and I'll speak on that a little bit later. And the next slide is the list of what is happening during NERFU. This actually, so sorry about that. This actually ended last week, and that was just the contract with ARC Marketing had through the state. But I will say that some of this is going to continue because of additional funding that Region 10 received. So we've had some local influencers. Maybe you've heard some things on the radio or through some different Facebook groups or pages that you might follow, and some other things that are happening on TV and radio in Imperial Valley. And on the next slide are some images of what some of that looks like. You can see Mary Martinez down there, God Radio on Facebook, and Island Block Radio adapted our graphics to just have a different feel that looks like, that looked more like what they have out there on their Facebook and on through their radio. So that's some of the stuff that's happening now. Some of this will continue, as I mentioned, because of funding that we're getting from the state. So the next couple slides are the ones that have a lot of data on them. So again, you can go back and look at this a little bit deeper. If you have questions, I can direct it back to Audrey at ARC. But I think just looking at the impressions and these total clicks and just what's happening, what I heard from Audrey, that she felt really good about these numbers and that things went really well. You can see the Gina the Latina, this was at the very beginning of our campaign, but just seeing the number of impressions, I mean, thinking, you know, these are 4 targeted areas as well. It wasn't, you know, blasted in general across San Diego and Imperial County, but we did target. So this is just gives you an idea of what things look like. The next slide is for the connected TV and in-app gaming. And so these are ads that come up between those little ads you get if you're on, what did she mention? Like if you're playing Scrabble online or you're doing different gaming online. And these are the pieces that she felt performed really well. And these are things that will continue on a slightly lower scale, but that will continue through the next couple of weeks as well. So that's just a quick overview of the work that ARC Marketing did. And again, this is the paid firm through Mercury, through the state, and the supported both San Diego and Imperial County. On the next slide starts the overview from Skatina Daniels. Again, these are from reports that they presented to us at our communications work group meeting a few weeks ago. So you can see all of the numbers, the number of placements, interviews, the estimated media value and circulation. I think that this was, we did really well. We had challenges, as been mentioned, with COVID taking over headlines and Black Lives Matter rallies taking over the headlines as well. And so really trying to make sure that we could be in the media. So I know that there was challenges, but I think we did a good job. You can see the list of featured community-based organizations. The next slide shows the outlets and some different leadership and topics. Sorry, it's leadership and topic focus for the pieces that were out there. The next slide is just a visual of those outlets. So you can see the different places that we did have earned media throughout the region. The next slide is a favorite because it just gives you a nice overview of kind of what happened between, I think it was March 6th when you can see that third image over from the left in the middle. There's a picture of Vanessa Green in her Count Me 2020 shirt. That was, I think it was March 6th. It was our training for the QACs and QAKs, and that's pretty much when everything shut down too. And then from there, you can see how everything changed, and we were, you know, the caravans or on Zoom meetings. You can see the picture of Joanne masked and socially distanced from the reporter there at a recent caravan as well. So I really like this image and just kind of what happened and almost like a timeline of where we ended up, and just an overview of some of the leaders that were featured. The next slide has a couple of the print pieces and what we were able to get into the UT and a couple of the other outlets. We do have an op-ed series that will be out in the UT this Sunday as well. So the next slide is touches on the NERFU influencer campaign. So Skatina Daniels was actually brought on through ARC to support this as well. So it was actually like a nice collaboration because both partners knew what was happening and they were able to push it out together. These are the pieces that were through NERFU and the local influencers. You can see some of the local radio personalities. And then the image on the far left is a door hanger that Moss Pace used. So that was used by Ismahan and the support for Muslim and MENA populations. And they, I saw some images of them actually doing the door hangers just recently. And that's all that I have for Skatina Daniels and ARC. So I know I went through that quickly, but you do have access to the slides. If there are any questions, I can answer them following this, or you can reach out to me later. So the next slide is just a little overview of the Count Me 2020 Census Week of Action that happened at the beginning of July. So all of this, this toolkit too is still available. It's on the Count Me 2020 website. A lot of these images and can't think of what the word is, the visuals you can still use on social and can be used out in other ways. They're still able to be adapted. We'll be using some of this for our day of action as well. But please, access those and use them. There's talking points and different ways that you can push out on social. The next slide shows an overview of how things performed. I think the one thing to call attention to is the post reach, that top right corner. It's the orange and kind of tangerine points, and you can see the organic and the paid reach. And we actually did really well on the organic, and then the paid came through too. But just knowing that our information is getting out there, and even organically, good things are happening. We will continue to support the posts and put money behind them to make sure that they're getting out even further. So that's a little bit on the week of action. And then on the next slide, a few of the next steps that we have. So August 21st is the Count Me 2020 Day of Action. My virtual background has what that save the date and what that looks like now. We will have a virtual rally that starts at 5:30. With community partners and electeds. So we are expecting Council President Georgette Gomez and Assembly Member Todd Gloria to kick off the rally. At 6 p.m. our caravans will begin. Right now there are 4 caravans scheduled, but we're looking at possibly 2 more. So up in Vista, we have National City, the one that Joanne mentioned earlier, Chula Vista, and then out in Imperial County as well. And so these will be happening simultaneously across the region and then live streamed. So we're going to be going live to each of the caravans, and then in between things as well, we have messages from our elected officials. I think that we have about 11 elected officials that are providing videos just to, ask everyone in our community to participate in the census, for those that haven't responded. So really exciting to see how this all goes. If anyone wants to participate in a caravan, host their own caravan, be part of the rally, everything will take place on Facebook Live. So on the Count Me 2020 Facebook page, you can go there and see everything that's happening. But if you have an elected that wants to share out a video or take part, make sure that they're live on the live stream as well. You can reach out to me and take part in that as well. So really our main goal is just to stir up the community and partners and elected officials and just have that last push, the urgency to take the census, and that we must have an accurate count. So the next slide, and this has been talked about a little bit by Connie too, there was a third tranche, a NERFU tranche of funding that came through. San Diego received $191,000, and then Imperial itself, the county, actually received the $50,000 to manage. Connie went over, those targeted census tracts and what we're looking to do. And I mentioned also that we will continue to have some of that targeted localized media through ARC, so continuing to have the in-app gaming and those communications. We're also looking at PSAs based on some of the elected videos that will be coming through for this Friday. So be looking for PSAs to be able to share out how you'd like to do that. I'm trying to think of the other things that we're making sure to do. Oh, the taxi workers. So the United Taxi Workers of San Diego have magnets on the side of their taxis. So there's up to 50 drivers at a time that have a magnet with the QR code. So it was that image that was on my first slide that are driving around San Diego doing what they do. They've been trained on the census. They also have postcards and pens in their cabs. So that's just another way that we're hoping to get the message out about the census. As well, these cabs are parked sometimes, in neighborhoods. And now these are, just another level of community leaders that are able to share out on the census. There is a little bit of flexibility in this as well too. So if there's something else that's happening in your jurisdiction, or you think, what, gosh, if I just had, a few more dollars to be able to do this, let me know how we can manage that or what that might look like, just to make sure that we're really pushing through this NRFU, especially hearing that the last 2 weeks of September, we're kind of on our own. So seeing what else we might be able to do on the ground. So next slide is just an overview of what you might expect from some of the partners. I did a quick survey with our partners. We have 50 funded partners and 42 responded. That's expected that 78.6 of them will be continuing to work through September 30th. These are the types of activities that they will be doing, the languages that they shared that they'll be doing their work in, and then the focus of the HTC populations. So that just gives us a little bit of an idea of what we expect to see. The next slide just goes into the census tracts that they'll be working in and what we expect. So just looking at a couple of these too, I think the big thing is to look at the tracts with the least CBOs. So knowing that Imperial Beach, which is a focus, there are only 2 CBOs that have said that they're working in those census tracts. And then as well as that La Presa, it's a Spring Valley, Lemon Grove area over there off of Hamishaw, and then the Grant Hill Stockton. Like these areas have fewer CBOs. So if your jurisdiction is in, or if you're part of any of these, if your city is part of these census tracts, just take note of that and let us know or see how else we can work together to make sure that we have good information happening in those census tracts. I also listed Imperial, and then what we heard from the partners, the biggest need is printed flyers, door hangers, just general information and check-in, and then texting and phone banking support. So we're trying to make all of that happen as well. The next slide is just a reminder that on Fridays at 10 a.m. I am at United Way. This is the only day that I'm down there. Due to social distancing, the building is still closed, but we do have flyers. There was some pictures of them, but these are the ones, I don't know if you can see these here. These are the ones that I have right now. We do have stickers that go over the dates because of the date change. But I do have a lot of those. I think that we ordered like 50,000. So I do have plenty of flyers. I still have many thousands of pens, stickers with the QR codes, a lot of Spanish and English yard signs. For those of you that are participating in the caravan on Friday, these are great things to use for the caravan. You can punch holes in the top and tie strings through them to attach to cars. I do have retractable banners as well and t-shirts. So I'd like to see all the t-shirts out for the caravans this week. If you're coming, please just send me a text so I know. Come to the front of the building and please remain outside and physically distance. So that's all I have. The last slide again shows that we have this in a postcard, and this is what the magnets look like that are on the side of the taxis with that QR code. So please join us on our day of action, which actually should say 8/21, not 2021. Again, you can join a caravan, take part in a caravan if you have something going on with an elected, or if you have a short video you want to send so we can share during that live stream time. Again, so 5:30 is the rally that starts. Caravans start at 6, and between 6 to 8, we will have live stream happening at the caravans, and then the PSAs coming in through the electeds during that time as well. So please join us. Let me know if there's anything else that we can do to support the jurisdictions. Of course, any of our partners that are on know that we're here to support them as well. Please come pick up flyers, t-shirts, stickers. We only have a few more weeks, so I'm glad to see that the energy is staying up, that we're continuing to do this. We're actually hoping to hit those 2,000 rates so that we can have the best census numbers in 20 years. So in San Diego, we need to get to 73%, and out in Imperial, we need to get to 60%, which I think is completely doable, just seeing how we've been doing the last couple of weeks. So thanks all, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Michelle, for your presentation and all your hard work and all of the ACBOs that are working with you. I'm monitoring here to see. I did have a comment from Joanne that said that the stickers are wonderful for water bottles. So thank you, Joanne, for that comment. Let me see. I don't see any hands. Do we have any other questions or comments from any of our members? No. Okay. And moving on to the public, do we have any other comments from the public or questions?
I see no raised hands at this time, Chair.
Thank you very much for confirming that. And moving on to item number 8, this is a regional representatives update, and this is where we take updates from the regions. So I believe we have confirmed that we have representatives from every region. So we want to start with let's start with East County. Starline, can you confirm who was representing the East County for us today?
It was Lynn, but I think maybe he had to go because I don't see him on anymore, or maybe he had technical difficulties.
Okay. Let's move on to North County Coastal, please.
That's Cecilia, her hand's raised.
Okay.
So we've been participating in rallies. We had one in July and one earlier this month, and we're continuing to push out census messaging throughout our hard to count communities.
Perfect. Thank you, Cecilia. Do we have anybody from North County Inland?
That's Sylvia.
Okay. Sylvia, are you still with us?
Yeah, her hand's raised.
Okay.
Darlan, Chair, I don't know if her mic's not working. We mic tested her earlier and it was working, but for some reason we can't hear her.
Okay. And I do want to note that a lot of the activities that we have undertaken have been mentioned by Joanna and Michelle. So we do have a little bit of background on what's been going on, just in case you guys can't jump in. City of San Diego.
Excuse me, Angelica, I do see that Sylvia put in the chat that they have a caravan scheduled for Friday in Vista, so that's exciting.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sylvia. I'm sorry that your mic isn't working. City of San Diego.
Hi, this is Tiffany Harrison with the City of San Diego, representing the Office of Councilmember Monica Montgomery. For the updates that I have for this month, the City of San Diego has had an announcement at the end of their agenda on a weekly basis, I believe, since the census began back in April. So the update is we're going to revise that announcement to include the most recent deadlines and more recent information. So when folks look at the agenda, they can see that. We are on legislative recess right now, but once it gets back in September, that announcement will be there so folks could have the new information on the census. We will also be moving information on the census on our website to a more prominent location. Currently, it's on the page where you find information about council members as a button. So that information will be moved over closer to the homepage so folks can access information on the census quicker And then last, personally for our district, I want to thank the work of the API initiative, Paving Great Futures, and also the 5K Hip Hop. We've been doing a great job along with pillars of the community and other community partners in passing out information at food distributions. Our office this month is doing a whole host of safe and healthy environment initiatives, which involves us cleaning up areas of our district, and we will be going out into our communities, which is over 10 communities, not only sharing information about cleanups, but also sharing information about the census. We'll have our banners up and also information for folks to access the survey. So we'll be working with community partners, hopefully to get enumerators out and continue to spread the word to the bitter end. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for that report. As far as South County is concerned, we have been taking advantage of all of the food distribution sites that we have going. We also participated in the back to school supply distribution and had our census ambassadors out there helping as well. As everybody else, we've been taking to social media. We've really been utilizing that a lot. And then of course the caravans. So we're trying to do a couple of like pushes to help us get us to some higher numbers. And I think the drive-through census event that we had the week of action was pretty successful. So I think we're just going to continue that effort. And that's it for the South County. Do we have any other reports?
Hi, for the County of San Diego.
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. I skipped you. I'm so sorry. Please.
No worries. I was like, did I miss it? I'm like, I don't think so. Yeah, so I just have a few quick things. So on Monday, August 3rd, Chairman Greg Cox made a statement on the importance of the census during the county's COVID-19 press conference. We were tracking live views and then total views. So for Twitter, the live views were about 194, total views were 2,800. And then for Facebook, it was about approximately 709 live views and 8,000 total views. And then today we will be distributing approximately 1,000 census flyers in English and Spanish to the county's T3 team, which is the test, trace, and treat, to be handed out at the county's COVID-19 testing sites. And then I know Misty Solis has a few library updates as well.
Great. Thank you, Denise. So San Diego County Library recently worked with SAMDAG and the Census Bureau to evaluate self-response rates within the communities that we serve, many of which are unincorporated. What we found is that 22 of the communities that we serve have exceeded the 2010 census response rate, and we're seeing a need to prioritize outreach in the following communities in the county: Borrego Springs, Julian, Pine Valley, Jacumba, Potrero, Campo, Descanso, Del Mar, Imperial Beach, and Valley Center. The library's IT department added the census website as the default landing page for all public Wi-Fi sessions. So we're now able to report that from March 1st to May 31st, over 43,000 views of the census website came through the library's Wi-Fi access points. Branch library staff distributed 14,000 census activity books for summer learning and kits to school and community meal sites countywide. Each kit for youth included a giveaway book with a census bookmark, activity book with census messaging, and census swag. Kits were created for youth of all ages, and activity books for adults were distributed to older adults through meal deliveries. On 8/14, we distributed some of those kits to Count Me 2020 Coalition partners, so thank you for getting those out. In addition, and since July, we've had 85 English speakers and 27 Spanish speakers that have completed an online census challenge through the library's Summer Learning Challenge. So that's what we've got. Lots of stuff has finally materialized. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for that, for the update. And I'm sorry that I skipped you. Darlene, do you see any more comments for us?
I don't see any hands
Okay.
raised.
Perfect. Okay, moving right along to item number 9, complete count outreach reports. And this is for advisory members of the working group and stakeholders to provide updates.
So Angelica, I'm thinking maybe go through the list of people who are on rather than going through your list, because I think some places aren't represented right now.
Okay.
So you want to start
do you have the list
with,
handy?
How about, yeah, I can help you. So
Perfect.
how about, let's see. So I know that Joanne, did you want to give an update on what you're doing? I know you already shared at the beginning of the meeting, but maybe you have more.
Yes, thank you. So it's concerning that first we thought the deadline is September 30th, and it is nationally, but now September 16th as the local support will be gone. So that's another game changer. And so we're going to try to revise our calendar of events to where we need the local support, especially the MQAs. We will have an effort after September 16th where we are on our own to produce our own events and basically provide our own MQAs support, meaning that we'll use the QR codes that we have on the Count Me 2020 swag and do a train the trainer to get people online. Again, it's been very successful in front of the supermarkets, but again, because of the crunch time, we need to figure out another game plan. How do we get more people out? Because we can only serve as many people that are available to offer their tablets. So we can get the census questionnaire completed. I do have a meeting at 1 o'clock with the city of Imperial Beach, where we are going to create a strategy on how to do another 2 pushes in September. I do want to share that in case we don't have a September meeting. I'm not sure on the schedule, because I think there is a Sandag work group meeting scheduled in September, but I'm not sure if it's before or after the local census office closes. I'm also working with Open Gym. They have a fulfillment center in Barrio Logan on Logan Avenue. We are going to work with organizers. There's a scheduled lowrider cruise. I'm trying to get the definite date for that, but there will be a series of activities happening in Barrio Logan, where we also know that's one of the lower 23 hard to count or low response rates. We want to thank the library. I'm not sure if that's the county library that provided the activity kits that Michelle has shared with us last Friday. If any of our partners are working at a supermarket or that you are providing MQA support, those library kits are very handy to keep the kids busy while the parents are completing the census. So I just wanted to give that plug in and thank you for that activity kit. We're all Paving Great Futures is partnered with Neighborhood House Association. I did share with Michelle last week that we're trying to get final numbers so that we can maybe get activity kits to the Head Start preschoolers within their network. And then Lemon Grove, we have a meeting scheduled, waiting to confirm for the meeting scheduled with the mayor of Lemon Grove to see, again, how we can have a last push there. And we will, hopefully, if the shelter and home, or if there's the lift so that we can use the Live Well Center in North County. In Escondido, we have a senior a group that we've been working with, Bucas, where we would like to have another MQA opportunity for that community to participate in the census. So while that is not just South County, that's a update that I'd like to share with you on behalf of API Initiative and Paving Great Futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Darlene, who do we have on the list next?
I actually am thinking as I'm looking at this list, it would be better if people just raised their hands if they had
Okay.
something to share, I think. And I noticed, Missy, did you want to give the update that you put in the chat?
Oh, sure. I just wanted to let Joanne and the rest of the CBO partners know that the County of San Diego, we're going to have some copies of our summer learning activity books with the census messaging available in Spanish, Arabic, and Farsi. So we will let you know once those are available. There won't be a lot, but we'll have some.
Great, thank you. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for those updates. Moving on to item 10, Joanne did bring this up in her comment. The next meeting is scheduled for September 16, 2020, and this is an opportunity for us to provide any agenda items that we would like to see. So Joanne already mentioned the last date of the services available here in our region. And so at this time, I would love to hear from anybody else that has any suggestions.
And the other thing I'd like to bring up, I think, excuse my ignorance, is that Mexican Independence Day?
It is.
And is that an issue for anybody having the meeting on that date?
No, surprisingly, here in the States, Cinco de Mayo is celebrated more than the actual Independence Day. But even at that, I mean, with social distancing and COVID, I don't see a problem. That is my opinion. Of course, anybody else could have a different opinion.
No, I agree with you, Angelica. This is Connie. And most of the festivities are usually held the day before or the night before.
Right.
And then it's called Fiestas Patrias. And that's why I remembered when Roberto said the 16th. That's the first thing I thought of. So
right.
I don't think it'll be an issue, darling.
But thank you for checking.
And then I see Joanne's hand is raised.
Hi, Joanne. Did you have?
Yes. May I already request time on the agenda for a API initiative and then a separate presentation from Paving Great Futures, please?
Joanne?
Yes.
Okay, we lost you a bit. Just as you were going to give us your idea, we lost you. Could you repeat that?
I'm requesting time on the agenda for a presentation from the API initiative, and then also time for Paving Great Futures. I like to separate them out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other suggestions for the meeting? Okay, hearing none, then we will have the regularly scheduled meeting for Wednesday, September 16th at 9:30. And I think that's it. Thank you everybody for being here and continue all the hard work. Obviously it's paying off. So with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandak, for the support.
You're welcome, Chair. Have a great day.